All right, back out here on the BSA, still waiting on some parts, but we're going to work on the oiling system here, the lubrication system. Some instructions there for how to do an SRM oil pump from those guys. Also got the instructions from SRM. And then we have Ed's instructions from EV Engineering, got off Brit Bike. And then let's see here. In this manual, it really just talks about when you put the cases back together, replace the pump on B30. B30 basically says grease the gasket and then put a dab of grease to the countersunk hole on the face of the pump. Doesn't really get into priming the oil system. It does at the beginning here, changing the oils. It's in the lube section. Here we are in the lubrication section. It does talk about when you remove the sump filter on the bottom, adding a half a pint of clean oil into the timing plug on the front of the engine. That'd be right there. Also shows how the lines are installed. Doing a return filter, so it would be a little bit different than that. All right, let's talk about installing the push rods. I'm not going to get to that yet. I am going to squirt some oil into the rocker supply. I'll come back later and get the push rods in. All right, the climber book also talks about adding a half a pint to the timing plug on the front of the engine. Also, the ignition off, you kick it through till you get oil flowing from the turn line below the reservoir cap. That could take quite a while, but we're gonna do a few different methods here of what I got going. I'm gonna get after this oil filter, get that full of oil, get these lines ran, and do the line for the rocker feed right there. This line's cracked. Got a new line, gonna replace the hose too. Oh yeah, I took the sump plate out and pressure regulating valve there's out. I'm gonna pull those studs out real quick. So I'm gonna be running this other SRM. Well, my new used line is obviously much longer. There was some differences, like this oil tank, the rocker feed line is up here. I think it was 68 some point. There would be another line down on this piece, and that would feed up to your rockers. So I'm assuming that's where this line came from, was a newer bike. So I'm gonna get that cut down. I hadn't used this tool in forever. I had to lube that thing up. Didn't even want to move. So I'll get that trimmed down and get her installed. All right, got the new to me line cut and cleaned up. Figured I'd spare you that drama. Let's get that installed. All right, got our hose cut up for that line. Got this filling hose, another piece of tube here. This is a new pump I got from Advanced Auto. Had this older one, figured to start with a nice new clean one, and it's all clean in there. Gonna put some 2050 in there, and we'll start priming the top end here, the head that is. All right, got it hooked up there. See it coming out the split pin there. All right, so this is when the head is finally pulled down, replace the two short push rods on the two outer tappets under the inlet rear rocker arms. Well, here I grabbed an exhaust one, so I grab the shorter ones here and get those in. All right, not sure how well you'll be able to see this. Anyhow, they are on the outer tappets. Now I'm going to install the exhaust ones on the inner tappets. I did roll these across the top of the toolbox here, checking for straightness. All right, push rods are in. They're not adjusted. You do adjust them cold, so this is a good time to do that. Knock something off my stool there. But yeah, I'm gonna give her a few pumps here and see what we got. Yeah, you can start seeing oil dripping. Appears to be just from the left cylinder. All right, starting to get some out of the right intake. Yeah, I feel like I got that primed up pretty well there. Of course, it's coming down the coming out of the sump plate area. So it works its way down through the that tunnel, push rods down to the cam. All right, I'm gonna remove the can here and get the line hooked up and filled with oil. Fill that line with oil there. All right, got that line installed. Went with these style clamps here. Use the 8 and the 8 to 10 millimeter. So adding oil to the oil filter. So stuff we run here. And it's definitely soaking it up. Filter's soaking up quite a bit of oil. I imagine if you're running this kind of setup, doing this after an oil change would be a definite. All right, real quick, here we are. We got our return. This tube here, closest to the bolt, hooked here, goes up into the filter on the inside. It's kind of hard to tell. This is the in here. This is the out. The other one, obviously, is the out. Up to return of the tank. And that's, you know, here's the later ones. Here's what we got going on for the 66. So there's your bolt hole. There's your tube. There's where that crossover is to the return. Here's your feed and your filter right here. That's the feed. Still gotta hook the feed up. All right, back out here on the BSA. Got the oil lines hooked up last night. Back from that soccer practice. Still not, you know, I had the one return line routed differently. I didn't like the bend in the hose. I've routed it this way now. Let's see how that goes. But yeah, let's work on getting this oil pump on. Oil pump non-return valve spring free length. It's about 20.5 millimeters. So, and then the ball, we got a measurement for the ball too. It's a 1/4 inch. All right, now we got the we know we got the right parts. So I get this oil pump out of the bag and get it ready to go on. Oil pump stud nuts are 7 foot-pounds in the book. SRM paperwork calls for 8 foot-pounds. All right, got our crankshaft gear on there. All right, we got a washer on there. You can kind of see the witness marks from the old pinion on there. So it's on the direction it came off. So Brit Cycle talks about putting grease on a gasket. So does this old book. The SRM instructions don't. Newer book doesn't either. But hey, we'll put a little grease on there because we're going to be putting the grease on the ball. All right, got the ball greased up. Slide the spring in. Trickier than it looks. Tighten these up evenly. Just got them seated there. And the torque is 8 foot-pounds. Look at the torque wrench out. Now, Ed's paperwork talks about spinning the end here, piece of hose and a clamp and a drill, turning to the right, which makes sense. The way that going, which way the worm gear would be driven to drive it with the crank spinning, you know, that way. Yeah, it's moving freely. I'm not going to move it too much. I want to put some oil in the tank first. We're moving a lot, but 96 inch-pounds is 8 foot-pounds. This don't care for these Allen wrench, these cap screws. See if maybe a standard fits in there better. I got a 4mm. It just doesn't seem to fit very well. They're the button head style. All right, a 5/32 fits in there a lot better. That was probably on me there.
Now since he wants you, she's trying to...
I'm still moving freely. All right, first one, bottom one here, torque there. I think I got the oil in the quart cans in the basement. I'm gonna put a couple quarts in the oil tank and let it, you know, gravity do its thing. Maybe come up with that apparatus that Ed's got. He talks about in his instructions for priming this off, putting a clamp on the front end here and spinning it up with a drill. All right, got a quart in there. See, it covers the screen at that point. I'll throw another quart on top there. All right, so about exactly 2 quarts in there. registers to about low on the stick there. So we'll let gravity do its thing. Hit inside and grab lunch. All right, got part of our oil pressure release valve in there, oil pressure regulating valve. Let's pull the piston out. It's pretty slimy in there. It pushed forward. Movement felt good. I'm not going to dig at it. I'm going to put the spring back in, put the cap on there. Also, got about a 10-inch hose on there on the pump side. All right, got a drill going there. I didn't put any clamps on there. Let's see how it does without clamps. I did get a tube on here. I put a clamp on that one, and I got half a quart fresh oil. So I'm gonna give this a whirl, see how this goes. All right, being I've never done this, let's see how this goes. Oh, I can see maybe you need clamps. All right, starting to get some oil. It's not pulling any up, but it's definitely running down. Definitely running down. Yeah. Yep, we're getting oil. I'm suspecting my hose may be a little big. All right, so move the crank so the connecting rod shells are, to the bottom here. Gonna spin it up. Take a look at the mirror. Pretty sure I could kind of see it dripping already, pretty good. But it's curiosity. Get this angled here right. Grab the old drill. Yep. Pretty much you confirm it's getting all the way over to the primary side over there, the bearing shells on the left connecting rod. Oh, I'll take that drill off and clean up the bottom here, get the sump plate on. All right, real quick, this SRM sump plate. The drain bolt's supposed to face the wheel. Also, on the twin cylinders, sump plate gauze is fitted with a raised center upwards. Singles, it goes down. So you see that profile there, we got that pointed upwards. Also mentions put some grease on the gaskets, so let's get that done and get her on there. All right, greased up, it's ready to go on. It's offset there for the pickup. This is exactly how I'll be stalling on the bike over here. This direction. All right, the book talks about for oil change, adding that half a pint through the timing plug. We're just going to take, basically it's a quarter of a quart. We're going to dump it down to the push rod hole. Just, it'll get its way down there. Got the sump plate on. And drain plugs facing the rear. All right, worm gear. So service letter, 2830. Ed's paperwork says 30, jam nut 20. These guys' instructions aren't saying nothing. The SRMs are saying just mentions the housing. Climber book here. It's calling for torque in the studs 10 foot-pounds. I did 8 earlier. Different pump too. I'm using bolts. Anyhow, they also say in here the worm gear nut to 35. I did 30, like Ed said. I'm going to come back and do 20 on that nut. I already got the worm drive torqued. It's in here too, but it's miscalculated. Wrong numbers. Let's see if I find them here. Crankshaft pinion nut. There it is. Crankshaft pinion nut. 60 foot-pounds. Yeah, no way. I just put 30 on there, and it was a little difficult. 20 will be easier for sure for the jam nut. Follow Ed's instructions. So I guess ordering the whole tab washer kit or lock washer kit for this bike was kind of a goof up on my part. But you know, here's the SRM one. Here's what I got. That SRM one won't fit in the crank. I mean, I could trim it. Sure. You know, I could trim it, no problem, I guess, but I could also reuse what I got, you know, and be reusing what I got. All right, 20 foot-pounds. Probably gonna bring a little hate, but whatever. There we go. I think it's a good stopping point for today. I'll do the gears tomorrow. Gear for the cam there, idler gear, and move on to the valves. That's it for today. Oh yeah, got that bent over there, that lock tab. All right, ready getting the gears back installed here. The camshaft gear and the idler gear. Talks about tightening them, doesn't give a torque, just says don't forget to bend the tab washer. That's in the old book. Talks about these alignment marks. Same thing in the newer book. You know, doesn't give a torque. Talks about idler center gear being the last gear to get installed. Then I looked in the service letter for torques and didn't see nothing there. So we're gonna get it installed and tightened up, and you know, don't forget to bend the lock tab over, right? All right, we got our Woodruff key installed. Took a minute or two there. Funny how long it takes to get a key in, right? The flush side of the gear goes towards the engine. Trying to do this one head is a little bit tricky. I think it started there. Took a little bit to get started there. Still a little stiff. That's home. Home, James. All right, I'm going to spin this around. Excuse me. Working on getting that mark close to the spot. I gotta move the crankshaft, get that hole close. I'm gonna do that by rotating the back tire. I got it in gear. Man, my eyes are not good. I think it's coming up. Yeah, there it is. I also put some assembly lube. Yeah, there goes the pliers. It's a little bump maybe. Little bump skitty. Kind of looks like the picture. Bring you in here. I mean, that looks semis aren't the greatest. Let's check out the new book's picture. And I'm pretty sure it's the same picture. Yeah. All right. So I've moved the gear around. And that was clocking it, you know, one way. Clocked it the other way. That's where it seems to line up best. Take it out. Clock the other way. I would say that that's it. And gotta bend this tab over still. So I get that bent over. Well, let me get it tightened first. I'd get ahead of myself. All right, probably another frowned upon method of torquing here. Yeah, it's about, that flat lines up pretty good right there. Yep. All right, no damage to the gears or the penny. Penny even survived that one. It's kind of like when I was doing that oil pump, or not oil pump, the pinion for the oil pump. That bar that was in here went up to hit the frame here. It was kind of a wedging thing, if you will, between here and there, and it wasn't like all on that. All right, gonna give that a dry run. Got some of that, thought about it, gonna pass. Talking about that stuff, also gonna pass. Got some new gaskets, but gonna reuse what I got. Hopefully flattening out that area, took out that defect. I did see guys got some more for sale, but from the pictures, they look, looks like they had a little ripple to them in the pictures he posted online, the ones he's selling, so figure give this a whirl. All right, for shits and grins, I'm figure what the hell, right? Well, I got that out, that was leaking. Figured I dumped another pint down in through the push rod tunnel and ran it through a few times, and got oil at the pressure relief valve. Gonna button that back up. Oh yeah, that is weeping, seeping, weeping, leaking, or however you want to slice and dice it. Also appear to have one leaking there at the pressure relief valve too. New parts, new gaskets, leaks. Seems about right. So gonna play with that also. All right, so probably not the manufacturer's problem, but or defect. I think it happened shipping or something, but I dollied that out as best I could. Should have showed a before picture. Crimped it with that. Old bucking bar and a hammer, and I don't know, stick it on there, some grease again. If it leaks, I'll try the high tack. I bought some more high tack. That'll be my last resort for ordering a new one. Kind of tired of ordering parts and waiting on parts. Kind of like get this thing back together. All right, back out here Friday morning. Looks like no leaks on this sump plate. Poured a pint down there last night. However, appears to be a leak. Oh. This thing appears to be seeping or leaking or whatever you want to call it. Well, I don't think I can really get those any tighter. Pretty tight. Maybe pull them back off and rough them up with some sandpaper maybe. Try reseating them. After that, it's order new gaskets. We may be okay there. I was seeing a little bit of oil right here in this area here. I might have not got that all the way off last night. Cleaned up very well. Yeah, that all appears dry there. And on the bottom here, it's just between here where it's gotten. So I wiped it off pretty good. I don't hit with brake cleaner or nothing. This is original paint on the bike, not a repaint. But yeah, it definitely shows its age and whatnot, but I don't want to be hitting with a bunch of chemicals. Especially brake cleaner, that stuff can get pretty nasty. Did some studying up on adjusting the valves. I'm going to use the rear wheel to do turn around the motions up here, you know. Push rods and whatnot, and the valves and all that good stuff.